You just sat down with your mortgage lender and you did what every financially responsible person does. You chose the 15-year mortgage. Shorter term, less interest, debt-free faster. Your parents would be proud. Your financial advisor probably nodded approvingly. And on the surface, every single number supports your decision. But here is the part that most people miss. That 15-year mortgage, the one that is supposed to save you over $243,000 in interest, may actually cost you close to $379,000 in lost wealth by the time you retire. The very discipline that makes you feel like you are winning is the same force that is quietly keeping you from building the portfolio that could change your family's financial trajectory for generations. Today, we are going to run the real numbers side by side, dollar for dollar, and by the end of this video, you will see exactly how the smartest looking mortgage decision in personal finance can become the most expensive one you ever make. Before we compare anything, let us lock in the numbers so we are all working from the same baseline. As of July 2026, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is 6.43% and the average 15-year fixed rate is 5.79%. According to Freddie Mac's primary mortgage market survey, source, Freddie Mac PMMS, July 2nd, 2026. That is a spread of about 64 basis points, which sounds like a great deal for the shorter loan. We will use a $400,000 home price, which is right in line with the national median. The Census Bureau reported a median sale price of $403,200 for new homes in the first quarter of 2026. Source, U.S. Census Bureau, Q1 2026. We will assume a 20% down payment of $80,000, giving us a loan amount of $320,000. For taxes, we will use the 2026 federal brackets as published by the IRS in Revenue Procedure 2025-32. The standard deduction for married couples filing jointly in 2026 is $32,200. Source, IRS, Revenue Procedure 2025-32. We will assume our household earns around $120,000 per year, which places them in the 22% marginal federal tax bracket. For investment returns, we will use the historical average annual return of the S&P 500 index, which has been approximately 10% nominal since its inception in 1957. Source, Fidelity Research, 2026. Adjusted for inflation, that is roughly 7% in real terms. We will use 10% nominal for our projections and note where inflation matters. For inflation, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported CPI running at 4.2% year over year as of May 2026. Source, BLS, CPI May 2026. But for long-term projections, we will use the historical average of approximately 3%. These are the parameters. Same income, same house, same down payment. The only variable is the mortgage term. Now let us see what happens. Let me be honest with you. The 15-year mortgage looks incredible on paper. And I am going to show you exactly why so many smart people choose it, because the logic genuinely makes sense at first glance. First, the interest savings. On a $320,000 loan, your 15-year mortgage at 5.79% gives you a monthly payment of $2,664. Your total interest over the life of the loan comes out to approximately $159,551. Now take the 30-year mortgage at 6.43%. Your monthly payment drops to $2,008. Sounds nice, right? But your total interest balloons to $402,847. That is a difference of $243,296 in interest that you never have to pay with the 15-year loan. That is not a rounding error. That is a house in some parts of the country. Second, you build equity faster, much faster. After just 5 years, the 15-year borrower has built $77,734 in home equity from principal payments alone. The 30-year borrower? Only $20,687. You are building wealth in your home almost 4 times faster. Third, there is the psychological power of being debt-free in 15 years. No more mortgage payment hanging over your head. No more sending a check to the bank every month. By the time your kids hit high school, your house is yours. Free and clear. Feels right. Feels responsible. Feels like winning. And honestly, For millions of Americans, this is where the analysis stops. Save $243,000 in interest. Build equity faster. Be debt-free sooner. Case closed. But what if I told you that every single one of those advantages is hiding a cost that never shows up on any mortgage statement? Here is the sentence that changes the entire calculation. The 15-year mortgage does not save you $243,000. It costs you $379,000 in lost wealth, because every extra dollar you send to the bank is a dollar that never gets the chance to compound in the market. Let us peel this back one layer at a time. Layer 1. The opportunity cost of the payment difference. The monthly payment on the 15-year loan is $2,664. The 30-year payment is $2,008. The difference is $656.26 per month. That is the extra money the 15-year borrower sends to the bank every single month, buying themselves a guaranteed return of 5.79%. But here is the question nobody asks. What if that $656 went into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund instead? At the historical average return of 10% annually, source, S&P 500 historical returns since 1957, Fidelity, that $656 per month becomes $50,819 after 5 years. After 10 years, it grows to $134,432. And after the full 15-year mortgage term, while the 15-year borrower is celebrating their last payment, the 30-year borrower who invested the difference is sitting on a portfolio worth $272,001. The 15-year borrower has zero in their investment account from this strategy. They put every extra dollar into the house. The 30-year borrower has $272,000 in liquid, accessible investments. And their remaining mortgage balance? $231,522. Their net position is already positive by over $40,000. And the compounding is just getting started. Layer 2. The liquidity trap. There is a concept in behavioral psychology called mental accounting, which is the tendency to treat money differently depending on which mental category you place it in. The 15-year borrower puts their extra $656 into the home equity bucket and feels wealthy. But home equity is not liquid. You cannot call your bank on a Tuesday and withdraw $20,000 from your equity to cover a medical emergency, a job loss, or a business opportunity. After 5 years, the 15-year borrower has $77,734 locked inside their walls and $0 in liquid investments from this strategy. The 30-year borrower has $20,687 in equity plus $50,819 in a brokerage account they can access in 48 hours. Which position would you rather be in if you got laid off tomorrow? The Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances has consistently shown that a primary residence is the single largest asset for most American families, but also the least liquid one. Source: Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. You cannot eat equity. You cannot pay a hospital bill with equity. And during 2008, millions of Americans discovered that home equity can vanish overnight while the bank still expects its payment. Layer 3. The inflation tailwind you are giving up. The 15-year borrower has zero in their investment account from this strategy. They put every extra dollar into the house. The 30-year borrower has $272,000 in liquid, accessible investments. And their remaining mortgage balance? $231,522. Their net position is already positive by over $40,000. And the compounding is just getting started. Layer 2. The liquidity trap. There is a concept in behavioral psychology called mental accounting, which is the tendency to treat money differently depending on which mental category you place it in. The 15-year borrower puts their extra $656 into the home equity bucket and feels wealthy. But home equity is not liquid. You cannot call your bank on a Tuesday and withdraw $20,000 from your equity to cover a medical emergency, a job loss, or a business opportunity. After 5 years, the 15-year borrower has $77,734 locked inside their walls and $0 in liquid investments from this strategy. The 30-year borrower has $20,687 in equity plus $50,819 in a brokerage account they can access in 48 hours. Which position would you rather be in if you got laid off tomorrow? The Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances has consistently shown that a primary residence is the single largest asset for most American families, but also the least liquid one. Source: Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. You cannot eat equity. You cannot pay a hospital bill with equity. And during 2008, millions of Americans discovered that home equity can vanish overnight while the bank still expects its payment. Layer 3. The inflation tailwind you are giving up. In year 1, the 30-year borrower pays $20,470 in mortgage interest. The 15-year borrower pays $18,165. By year 10, the gap widens dramatically. The 30-year borrower is still paying $17,640 in annual interest. The 15-year borrower is down to $8,754. And by then their mortgage interest is so low that itemizing becomes almost impossible. The 30-year mortgage keeps the interest deduction viable nearly twice as long, especially when combined with state and local taxes and charitable contributions to push you past the standard deduction threshold. Layer 5. The flexibility penalty. There is a behavioral concept called the sunk cost fallacy, the tendency to continue pouring resources into something because you have already invested so much. Once you have committed to that $2,664 monthly payment, you are locked in. If your income drops, if you face a layoff, if you want to start a business, that 15-year payment does not negotiate. The 30-year borrower has a mandatory payment that is $656 lower every month. If times get hard, they can pause or reduce their investment contributions and still meet their mortgage obligation. They have built-in financial flexibility that the 15-year borrower does not have, without defaulting on a single payment. Now let us run the full side-by-side simulation. Both borrowers can afford the 15-year payment of $2,664 per month. The only difference is what they do with that money. Borrower A takes the 15-year mortgage. Every dollar goes to the loan for 15 years. After payoff, they invest the full $2,664 per month. Borrower B takes the 30-year mortgage. They pay $2,008 to the bank and invest the remaining $656 per month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, earning the historical average of 10% per year. Source: S&P 500 historical average return, approximately 10% nominal. Fidelity Research. Same total monthly commitment. Same discipline. Let us follow the money. Year 5 checkpoint. Borrower A has $77,734 in home equity and $0 in investments. Total liquid net worth from this strategy? $0. Borrower B has $20,687 in home equity and $50,819 in their brokerage account. They have contributed only $39,376 of their own money. Compounding has already added $11,443. Advantage borrower B by $50,819 in accessible liquid wealth. Year 10 checkpoint. Borrower A has substantial home equity and $0 in investments. 5 years from payoff. Borrower B now has $134,432 in their investment portfolio. They have contributed $78,751. Compound growth has generated $55,681 in pure returns. The money is starting to work harder than they are. Year 15 checkpoint. The pivotal moment. Borrower A makes their final mortgage payment. Celebration. Relief. They start investing $2,664 per month. Their investment portfolio balance at this moment? $0. Borrower B still has 15 years on their mortgage. Remaining balance, $231,522. But their investment portfolio has grown to $272,001. Their net position is positive by over $40,000. And here is the critical insight. Their portfolio is now generating roughly $27,000 per year in returns. The compounding engine is at full speed. Year 20 checkpoint. Borrower A has been investing for 5 years. Portfolio, approximately $206,000. Solid progress. Borrower B has been investing for 20 years. Portfolio, $498,345. They have contributed only $157,503 of their own money. The market has generated $340,842 in growth. Compounding is now doing more than twice the work the investor is. Borrower B leads by approximately $292,000. Year 25 checkpoint. Borrower A investing for 10 years. Portfolio, approximately $546,000. Borrower B investing for 25 years. Portfolio, $870,751. Borrower B leads by over $324,000. Year 30. Final accounting. Both mortgages are done. Both borrowers have maintained the same $2,664 monthly commitment for 30 years. Time to count. Borrower A, the 15-year mortgage strategy, has a portfolio worth $1,104,220. That is from 15 years of investing $2,664 per month. Borrower B, the 30-year mortgage strategy, has a portfolio worth $1,483,473. That is from 30 years of investing $656 per month. Borrower B has $379,253 more. That is a 34.3% wealth advantage. Same monthly outflow, same discipline, same house, almost $400,000 more dollars headed into retirement. The 15-year mortgage was supposed to save $243,000 in interest, but the opportunity cost of not investing that monthly difference starting on day one was $379,000 in lost portfolio growth. The so-called savings actually cost $136,000 on net. This is the power of the time value of money. A dollar invested today is worth dramatically more than a dollar invested 15 years from now because it has more time to compound. Every month that borrower B invested while borrower A was busy paying down principal, that money was multiplying. Those early dollars did the heaviest lifting. And once compounding reaches escape velocity, it becomes nearly impossible to catch up. This is also a textbook example of present bias, the psychological tendency to overvalue immediate rewards like being debt-free and undervalue future ones like a larger retirement portfolio. Paying off the mortgage feels like a win today. Investing the difference creates a much larger win decades from now, and our brains are simply not wired to feel excited about that. This is not personalized financial advice. Consult a certified financial advisor for your specific situation. These projections use historical averages, and your actual returns will vary based on market conditions and personal circumstances. Now, in fairness, here are the specific situations where the 15-year mortgage genuinely wins. First, if you will not actually invest the difference. This entire analysis depends on borrower B having the discipline to invest $656 every single month for 30 years without exception. If that money would realistically disappear into lifestyle inflation, a nicer car, extra dining out, or just sit in a checking account earning nothing, then the 15-year mortgage works as what behavioral economists call a commitment device, a structure that removes the temptation to spend. For people who struggle with investment discipline, the forced equity building of the 15-year mortgage may genuinely outperform. Second, if you are within 15 years of retirement and want to eliminate your largest fixed expense, removing a $2,000 monthly obligation from your retirement budget reduces the portfolio withdrawal rate you need to sustain, and it protects you against what financial planners call sequence of returns risk, the danger that early market drops in retirement can permanently damage your nest egg. Third, if the market delivers below average returns during your specific investing window. The S&P 500 average of 10% includes brutal downturns. During the decade from 2000 to 2010, sometimes called the lost decade, real stock returns were essentially flat. The 15-year mortgage gives you a guaranteed return equal to your interest rate of 5.79%. In a low-return environment, that guarantee looks competitive. Fourth, if the psychological piece of being debt-free is genuinely worth more to you than the mathematical difference. Not every financial decision should be reduced to a spreadsheet. If eliminating your mortgage lets you sleep better, take bigger career risks, or reduce stress that affects your health and relationships, that has real value no calculator can capture. Here is the higher-level principle that applies far beyond mortgages. Every major financial decision involves a trade-off between a visible, guaranteed savings and an invisible opportunity cost. The financially literate person does not just ask, how much am I saving? They ask, what else could this money be doing? That single question, applied consistently, is what separates people who look smart with money from people who actually build wealth. The 15-year mortgage is not a bad product. It is a good product that gets chosen for the wrong reasons by people who compare it only against the 30-year interest statement instead of comparing it against every possible use of that monthly difference. The real math shows the answer clearly, but you are allowed to factor your feelings into the decision, as long as you know exactly what those feelings are costing you. And now you do.